St. Louis Blues fans are absolutely livid at this as major changes have came to the St. Louis Blues, and these are just flat out ridiculous. We're going to break down everything you need to know on the changes that just came to the St. Louis Blues and why fans are up in arms over the situation and more later on this episode. Before we get into that, if you haven't hit that sub button yet and you're a St. Louis Blues fan that wants to stay up to date on everything to do around the team, make sure to go down and hit that free subscribe button. Helps me and Darius out a ton, and in return, we'll give you constant updates from around this team. But Darius, we gotta get straight into this today, where we did see yesterday John Kelly, the Blues play-by-play voice, a fan favorite, a legend in St. Louis, was pretty much let go as the play-by-play, and we're gonna go into this a bunch on John Kelly, the impact on this, and how this is just ridiculous. But what is your first thoughts on just seeing this news that the Blues don't have the same voice behind them?
This is absolutely sickening news for more than one reason, and I'm going to get into it here. And again, John Kelly is like synonymous as the voice of the St. Louis Blues. When you think of, if you look around the league, if you think of certain teams, you can kind of hear their announcers in your head. The play-by-play guy, of course, the color guys as well. John Kelly is one of those guys with the St. Louis Blues. When you see the Blues playing, when you see the colors, when you see the jerseys, we're going to get into that later in this episode as well. You just think you can hear his voice, right? He's synonymous with the team. I liken it to, across the league with the Toronto Maple Leafs, let's say, and Joe Bowen. I want to bring him up again in just a few minutes, but even Sam Rosen with the New York Rangers, right? So it's just one of those things where you think of the team, you hear this guy's voice. He's synonymous with the team. He's been around for so long. And thankfully, I know it looks like this is going to happen at this point. I think we all have to make peace with that fact, but thankfully he got to call a Stanley Cup championship win in his career. St. Louis Blues Stanley Cup championship win. But I do want to make this point that he was let go. This is absolutely ridiculous. People like this that have, careers like this who are synonymous with teams should be able to go out on their own terms. And excuse me for my own ignorance, but I hope that the team can maybe step in and do something about this. I feel like it's kind of outside of their reach because it is the broadcaster that is making this decision, and it looks like budget cuts, which is absolutely ridiculous because, again, a guy like John Kelly should be able to finish his career on his terms. And I said I was going to bring up a couple announcers again. You look at Joe Bowen. This is his last year with the Toronto Maple Leafs, but they've given him the opportunity to continue until he said it's time for me to hang up the microphone, I guess, for lack of a better term. And same with Sam Rosen. He called it quits himself. He said, this is my last go at it. This is my retirement tour, whatever you want to call it, to go around the league one last time. This is my last year. I'm retiring on my terms. And the fact that, he's not getting the opportunity to do that. I see that Blues fans, out there on Reddit, on Twitter, they're absolutely livid, fired up about this, and you should. And again, hopefully the team can do something about it. Maybe there's some type of movement that can happen here, but it's an absolute shame that he's being told you're done instead of him saying, you know what, I feel like my time has come and I'm going to hand the reins off to somebody else. That's the way it should be. And I think this is absolutely ridiculous. And to be honest, so far, everything that we've seen, he's handled it with the utmost class, which I would expect nothing else, but it's just ridiculous. And we want to hear what you guys have to say in the comments too, because we know fans are really upset about it. And he should be going out on his own terms, like some of the other greats around the league, not like this.
And I mean, you said it perfectly. Looking at him handling on his own, I'm not going to take it away from him. You can read this. It's going to be all down in the description. You can go look at his full thing, going as far as saying moving from Ottawa to Missouri, becoming a Blues fan and being passionate. It wasn't a job to him. This was a passion, and it's so hard to just look at a fan favorite being pushed out because of Valley moving into FanDuel. We know right now there's going to be two new voices coming in, the radio play-by voice of Chris and Joey going in on 101 ESPN. And the biggest problem with this is change is sometimes good with the team. We're going to touch on how there's good change happening around the Blues, but removing a voice at not his own cost. He's not going out to say, I don't want to be here. He wants to continue delivering for Blues fans. That is the hardest point. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Clown move. I completely agree on this. And good changes can happen. We're seeing the changes of some jerseys coming through. We see the logo from 1999 till 2025. We're getting a new logo come through. Let us know the logo and your thoughts down below. We're seeing some alternate logos that are going to join this team. But I mean, Darius, listen, this is a team that's going to deal with some changes throughout the season. We're going to see player movement. We've already seen it. But overall, do you think there is a world that maybe this team steps in and says, hey, we want you to continue? He says in this is not over for him. He wants to continue a career. Do you think there's a world where he stays with the Blues in some way? Or is there a possibility that maybe he heads on to the MLB or something else?
Well, like David Pasternak said a couple years of the Boston Bruins, he said, I love playing and I'll play for free. He wasn't being 100% serious, but I'm sure that, if it came down to it, maybe there could be a pay cut that could be agreed upon or something like that, right? Or maybe the team does step in. And again, maybe they can't. And excuse my ignorance in that way. If somebody has some information, let us know in the comments below. We love to learn new things as well. But, I would hope that the Blues or something can be done here where they recognize the mistake that's been made here and they can rectify it. And again, I don't want to take anything away from the guys who are stepping in either, because they've probably earned this opportunity as well. I don't want to take away anything from the guys, again, that are going to be stepping in next year, or if this decision is final at this point. Again, I usually when things like this happen, you do have to make peace with the fact that it's going to happen this way, but don't want to take anything away from them. But, hopefully there can be something that can be done here where you can stick around with the team in some capacity. But it's just absolutely ridiculous in my eyes. Hopefully something can be done. But like you mentioned, there is some good change coming. Change sometimes, we know it's going to happen. Sometimes it can be good. And at least with the logo and stuff like that, in terms of change and what's happening into next season, there are some things to look forward to.
And I mean, I think the biggest thing is when we seen Bally kind of go into FanDuel Sports Network, this was a network that was kind of bankrupt. Now, I'm not a money guy, but it does seem like cuts are being made. But what's your guys' thoughts on this? And we're going to touch on a little bit of a positive note while we go into the end of this. But the big thing is, as I said, this Blues team is dealing with a lot of change. We have a new play-by-play. We're seeing new people within this team, and we're seeing a logo change. But there is some positives. I mean, the youth movement of this team. Holloway joining the team last season with Broberg after the Oilers made a colossal mistake. Thanks to the Oilers for bringing in these two key pieces. There's new faces like Tucker that are set to join this lineup full-time. We've seen the draft picks of Carbonneau. What is your thoughts on how this team is kind of moving into a new era? We're seeing Steen take over. Yes, the veterans of this team, Fowler, who joined the team last year, is being accompanied by one of the Blues greats in Parayko. What is your thoughts on Steen just taking over and this kind of youth movement this team is feeling where they're still very good, but they're still getting young? And I think there's a very good sign with this.
Well, there has been a shift for this team over the course of the last 12 months, I guess, at this point. And, they've been able to do it with grace. And Doug Armstrong, this is, and of course, Alex Steen, who's going to be taking over. They've done it with grace. And I think it really started with, and again, if you have a different thought, let me know in the comments. But I think it really started with the Boston Bruins firing Jim Montgomery and then the St. Louis Blues saying, hey, listen, we got to take advantage of this opportunity. We're going to hire this guy. Like, no offense to anybody else, but we're going to hire you. And it really started there. And then they go on, they trade for Cam Fowler. He made a huge difference in terms of the defense pairings and kind of the dynamic of the defense. And he's been great. I expect him to be great again next year. So this team is heading in a direction where they're getting a little bit younger. You look at the top line too, and you look at guys coming in like Snuggerud, but they're able to make a difference. And I think with Montgomery leading the way here as the head coach, they expect guys to come in, make a difference, and play hard, right? And I think that's the biggest thing. So they're heading in a really good direction. I would expect this team to make the playoffs again. Not only that, be better than last year, and especially where they were in the first half of the season, but be a better team, play hungrier. They have a lot of guys who are hungry or coming up through the system. So you have a lot of aging forwards and defense for that matter, but you have a lot of young guys who are very hungry coming through the system as well. Dvorsky, we talk about almost every other video at this point. So he's hungry. He's, going to make an impact soon. Carbonneau is probably a lot more ready and closer to being an NHL player than anybody really realizes at this point from everything we're seeing. So they have a lot of really good, exciting pieces coming up. They're in really good hands. And Jim Montgomery, for my money, is probably one of the best younger coaches in the league, because there's coaches around the league that have won the Stanley Cup and all these things. He's one of the better younger coaches around the league, and I don't see him going anywhere. That's the other thing I wanted to mention before we wrap up. I feel like they're trying to recreate, maybe not recreate 2019, but establish a culture with Jim Montgomery where, he's not going to be a coach where he comes in for 2 years, it's flash in the pan, all of that, and they fire him, they move on to the next guy. I feel like they want to establish something pretty special here, and they're doing that. They have a new look coming into this year with the great jerseys, like great color scheme. I love everything about it. But I feel like they're trying to establish that, and it's pretty exciting.
But I mean, Blues fans, what are your thoughts? I know it's a lot to take in. There's change coming to this team, some positive. What's your thoughts on Kelly being out as the play-by-play? What are your thoughts on the new logo, the jersey? What is your thoughts on how management has done an incredible job this offseason? Let us know down below. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We're going to be back with many more videos, and you're not going to want to miss it. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. But that'd be it for this episode. I've been your host, Mark, with my co-host, Darius, and take care, Blues fans.